In this lesson we're going to be learning Julia Wolf's In My Room, based on how it's played in the Under the Radar LA version. We're going to need our guitar in standard tuning, so that's E, A, D, G, B, E, and it's in the key of A major. So to start off, the intro is just a 4 chords progression, and the first chord sounds like this. So that's a D major 7. Thank you, Zuko. Come on, down you go, Zuko, come on. Sorry about that. So where were we? So our first chord is a D major 7, and it's played like this. So we have our second finger on the 5th fret of the A string, which is a D note. We have our first finger on the 4th fret of the D string, which is an F sharp, and our pinky on the 6th fret of the G string, which is a C sharp. So that's our D major 7 for our first chord. Then we have an F sharp minor 7, and that's played with our second finger on the 2nd fret of the low E string, an F sharp note. We have our 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, which is an E note. And then our pinky is on the 2nd fret of the G string, which is an A note. So we're muting the A string with our 2nd finger, and we're also muting the B string with our pinky and the top E string with this bit of our index finger. So we get this chord. I should probably mention that for our first chord, the D major 7, we are also muting the low E string with our 2nd finger, and we're muting the top B, the B string with our pinky, and again the top E string with our index finger. Our third chord is a A major sus2. Excuse me. So we are muting the low E string with our thumb. I'll bring that over. We are letting the A string ring open. We are playing the 2nd fret of the D string with our 2nd finger, which is an E note. The 2nd fret of the G string with our 3rd finger, which is an A, and then we're letting the B ring out, and we're muting the high E string again with our index finger. So that's our A major sus2. And the last chord is just regular E major chord. So low E string, open, 2nd fret with our 2nd finger on the A string, which is a B note, 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string, which is an E, then our index finger on the 1st fret of the G string, which is a G sharp, and then letting the B and the E ring open. So that's our E major. For our strumming pattern, you're going to need to learn 2 kind of main patterns, and they alternate from chord to chord. Our first one I will play to you. It should look and sound a little bit like this on our D major 7 chord. And I'm going to show you how to do that now. I will break it down. So I'm going to pop the guitar down for this first bit. What we want to do is we want to get our hand moving just up and down in the air in time to the song, so you can play the song and just practice keeping the beat in time. So in order to do the strumming pattern 1, we are going to strike the guitar on these downs and up strokes, and the rest of it we're just going to keep our hand moving, but it won't be striking the guitar, it's just going to be moving near the guitar. So we're going to go down, 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 up. I'll do that slower, and make sure you get all these hand movements in, because that will keep us in time, but it'll also make sure that we hit the next chord at the right place. So do that nice and slow. Down, 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 up. And once more. Down, 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 up. Make sure you get those two just air strums, hand movements at the end. So if we put that on the guitar, that looks and sounds like this. Down, 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 up. So that's our D major 7 chord. Once more. Down, 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 up. Yep. So there are a few other things going on with this chord, and just with all the chords. For the intro in particular, it's very muted. So what I mean by that is we're going to be resting our palm on the sort of 3 lower strings. It's kind of, this bit is just covering the strings. It varies from place to place on, everyone has different hands, but for me it's kind of this bit here, just resting over the strings like this. So for our D major 7 chord, he is, we've obviously got our E string is muted by our second finger anyway, but our right hand will be resting on it. Our right hand will be muting our D note on the A string and our F sharp note on the D string, and he just kind of lets the C sharp note on the G string sort of ring out a bit. So if we do that with our strumming pattern, keeping those bottom 2 strings in this chord muted, that's going to be like that. So down, 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 up. There are also a few ghost notes going on between some of the strums, and what I mean by that is a ghost note is just a very muted note, and it's just on like the bottom string, the bottom note of each chord, and in this case that is our D note. So we're just striking the D note, keeping it very muted, and so we'll refer to that as a ghost note, and I will refer to our strums as downs and ups like we have been doing. So we're going to go down, ghost, down, ghost, down, ghost, up. Once more. Down, ghost, down, ghost, down, ghost, up. Now you'll notice on the end we have these 2 kind of clicks, and in order to do those we're just going to lift the fingers of our left hand up just very slightly, just so they're not fretting any notes. So we should have all of our strings muted, because we already have our second finger muting the low E string, and we already had our pinky and bit of the index finger muting the 2 top strings. So we should get that on the end. So if we put them in as well, I'll refer to them as the clicks. We have something like this. I'll go nice and slow. So we're going to go down, ghost, down, ghost, down, ghost, up, click, click. For our second strumming pattern, we are going to take our F sharp minor 7 chord, and play something a bit like this. I'm going to break that down and put the guitar aside. So keeping our hand going in time to the song, we're going to strike the guitar on these downs and ups. We're going to go down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Remembering to do all of these hand motions. So we'll do that again, slower. So we'll be striking the guitar on down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Let's put that on the guitar with our F sharp minor 7 chord. We will go down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Like that. So once again, like all the chords in the intro, it's very muted. So we're muting it with the side, the base of our palm just here. We're making sure that the bottom string and the lowest note of our chord, which is an F sharp on the E string, is nice and muted, and also our E note on the D string is also muted. Our A note on the G string is sort of left to ring out a bit, and there aren't really any sort of ghost notes in this, like the whole thing is just very muted. And at the end we still have our click click, our big muted strum. So that looks a bit like this. So we go down, down, no, sorry, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. Once again, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down. So in order to get those clicks at the end, we need to be, again, lifting our fingers on our left hand, just lifting them up so they're not fretting any notes and are just resting on the strings and muting them all. So we've got our second finger is muting the low E string and the A string above it. Our third finger is on the D string, muting that. Our pinky is on the G string, muting that, but also muting the B string above it, and our base of the index finger is still muting that top E string. Now we're going to put our first strumming pattern and the second one together. So we're going to start on our D major 7 chord and then go into our F sharp minor 7. Down goes, down goes, down goes, up, click, click, down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, click, click. Then we would go into our A sus2 chord and back to the first strumming pattern, and our ghost notes will be on the lowest note in this chord, which is the open A string. We're muting, when we strum, we're muting the A string and the D string, and sort of letting this A note and the open B string sort of ring out a little bit. So that goes. And still getting our click clicks in at the end. In order to do our click clicks, we sort of have, because we've got so many sort of open strings in this chord, we kind of have to adjust our hand position a bit, and I just sort of lay all my fingers flat across the guitar like this in order to get that. So that's just like that, and that brings us nicely into our E major chord. So our fingers are sort of already, you know, nearly in that position, and we do the second strumming pattern on our E major chord, still keeping these sort of, you know, bottom 2 or 3 strings nice and muted, letting the B string ring out. And so that's down, up, down, down, up, down, up, down, click, click. And again on the click clicks, I'm sort of bringing all my fingers over. You can sort of just, you know, bring your thumb over to mute the low E string, and I put my pinky over the top E and B string just to make sure everything is nice and muted. And that's the intro. So for the part of the song where she comes in with the singing of the chorus, the first part of the chorus is just the exact same 4 chords as we just learnt for our intro, with basically the same strumming pattern. He does vary it slightly just sort of throughout the song, and the chords are slightly less muted than in the intro, but still quite muted and not too aggressively struck at the moment. So I will just sing so we know where we're up to, because it does change at one point, but I'll show you when. So we're going to go with our D major 7. I want your things in my F sharp minor 7. Ooh, I miss you all of the time. A sus 2. I slap myself on the E major just to see what you'll find. Then we go back to our D major 7. I want your things in my room. So that's when it changes to a B minor 7, which is played like this. So we have our second finger on the 7th fret of the low E string on the B note. That finger is also muting the A string above it. Then our third finger is on the 7th fret of the D string on the A note, and our pinky is on the 7th fret of the G string, which is a D note, and our pinky is muting the B string, and our index finger, or the bottom of it, is muting the top E string. So I want your things in my room, I miss you all of the time. Then back to our F sharp minor 7. You make it look so E major easy, leaving everything behind. So for this final E major chord, we're going to be lifting our fingers off of the frets and just resting them on the strings a bit earlier this time, you know, just like we've been doing for the click clicks at the end. We're going to do that for the up down strums for the second half of the second pattern, strumming pattern. So that looks like this. So we're going to fret for the first half. Yeah, so we're going up, down, and now 2 down ups on the end as usual. But for this we sort of want like quite a chuggy sound there, sort of a warmer tone, because it sounds really cool, and that will lead us into our next section. So we want to sort of bring our right hand back to sort of this part of the guitar, sort of behind the sound hole, because it will give us a lot more of a warm sound than, say, you hear the difference? Yeah, than up there, where we sort of have been playing before, and we really want to make sure that we hit those low strings to get that nice chug. I mentioned that there were some variations to the strumming pattern throughout the song. It mainly happens in the second half of the second strumming pattern. So for example, if we take our E major, he'll start off by doing the whole down, up, down, down, then he might go down, up, down instead. So we've missed just one of those upstrokes that we were doing before. So I'll show you that again. Down, up, down, 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 up, down, with our mutes on the end. Another one we could possibly do is down, up, down, 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 up, up. Yeah, just play with it really, have fun, make it up. I will say, like, you obviously, like, we've been putting the mutes on the end of every chord, and you don't have to do that every time. Like, I think it sounds really good anyway, and it adds sort of dynamics to the piece. But say if you wanted to go from, you know, our A sus2 into our E major, like, you don't have to put the clicks, you can just play the chord instead, but you have to make sure you then get to the next chord sort of instantaneously, so you have to be quick enough with your fingers. So that would look like that. What we don't want is something like this, where you're going to go down, so when you take your fingers off to change to the next chord, we don't want them just floating in midair and nothing muting the strings, because strumming just the open strings of the guitar isn't going to sound good, and it's going to sound messy. So we need to make sure that we're either changing chord instantaneously and in time, or we need to be muting those strings as we're changing chords. So an example of that is from the D major 7 to the F sharp minor 7. Like, that's quite a long way to go from there to there. You've sort of got to change your hand positioning as well. So getting those mutes gives you time to move your hand down, and keeps everything sounding smooth and nice. So we go then into the next chord. So as we're doing our muted strums, we are moving our left hand down to the next chord, but still keeping our fingers in contact with the strings, so it's muted. For the next part, where she sings leaving everything behind, we come in on the hind, and we play once round the same chords as our intro, but there are some subtle differences to the way that they're played, and also in the way that we play them. So we start with our D major 7, but we're going to add an E note on the end, on the 5th fret of the B string with our 3rd finger. So we get a D major 7 add 9 chord, then to our F sharp minor 7, but we're going to add the open B string on the top there, still muting the high E string. Then our A sus2, but we're going to let the high E string ring out as well this time, and then our regular E major. So we're not going to mute this time, we're just going to strum the chords, and it does change a bit at the end, but I'll show you what that looks like. So we go. So at the end there, on our E major chord, we start the strumming pattern the same way. So we go down, up, down, down, but then we have 8 palm muted strums. So we're just resting this bit of our palm on the sort of bottom 3 strings of the guitar and striking them with our pick. I'm not actually using a plectrum, I'm just using my fingers just because I prefer it, but he's using a plectrum, and if you do, it will give you a sort of more crisp sound and make the guitar louder. For the next section, we're going to have to learn a few new chords, but it starts off with our D major 7, the same as how we played it in the intro, so just these notes. Then we have a B minor 7, which is played like this. So we have our 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the low E string on the B note, our index finger, our 1st finger, on the 5th fret of the A string on the D note, and our pinky on the 7th fret of the D string on an A note. Sorry, my guitar's a bit buzzy. And we are muting the top 3 strings with this bit of our index finger. So that's sounds like that. We then have this funky little chord here, which is an F sharp 7. So we have our 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the low E string on an F sharp note, and that finger's also muting the A string. We then have our 3rd finger on the 2nd fret of the D string on an E note, and our pinky is on the 3rd fret of the G string, playing our A sharp note, and we're muting the top 2 strings. I'm muting that B string with the part of my pinky, and then the top E string with the bottom of my index finger. So that's our F sharp 7. So it has a major 3rd, our A sharp, but a minor 7th with our E. Then we go to our A sus2, just as we played in the intro. Then we go back to the D major 7, and then this chord here, which is a B minor 7 again, but it's voiced ever so slightly differently. So we have our 2nd finger still on the 7th fret of the low E string on our B note, it's muting the A string. We then have our 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the D string on our A note. Then we have our pinky on the 7th fret of the G string on our D note. Then we're muting the top 2 strings once again. I'm muting that B string with my pinky and the top E string with my index finger. That's that. Then we go back to our F sharp 7. Yeah, and then our A sus2, but this time leave the top E string to ring as well. And they're the chords you need. We're taking the chords we've just learnt. We're coming out of our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, our palm muted E major chord, and we're going to keep that palm muting going in that rhythm for our D major 7, and we're going to go like this. So on the Ds, we're going to be hitting the top 2 strings in our chord. So the D string and the G string. Duh. And for our Ds, we're going to be hitting the bottom 2 strings in our chord on the A and the D string. So we're going to go da 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 da. It's like that. So keeping everything really heavily palm muted, and we're going to want to make sure that our right hand is right back here near the bridge. So we'll do that again. Da 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 da. Then we're going to apply that to all the rest of the chords. So again, we're on the D, hitting the top 2 strings, the top 2 notes in our chord, and for the Ds, we're hitting the bottom 2 notes. So that'll be these 2 in this chord. Now if we keep going. He does sort of, as we approach the end of this section, he sort of starts to let the highest notes of the chord ring out a bit, especially when we get to our F sharp 7 for the second time. It's sort of much more lightly palm muted. So it sort of breaks into a bit of a strum at the end there. So da 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 da, and then into our A sus2, which is just fully strummed like this: down, down, up, up, down, down, up, up, and then our click, 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 clicks on the end. So we're just muting all the strings with our left hand, sort of on around the sort of the 4th, 5th, 6th frets, because the next chord we're going to go into is going to be our D major 7 again. So now we have our chorus chords. We're going to play them nice and open. We're not going to be palm muting with our right hand or anything. We're using the same strumming patterns as before when we were strumming. You know, you can throw some variations in as well to add some interest. Also, subtle differences this time. For the D major 7 chord, we're going to throw in a open B string, so like that. And for the rest of the chords, we are going to leave the B and the high E string ringing out as well. So that will sound a bit like this. When she starts singing the oh, 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 we're going to use the first 4 chords of our chorus chords, and we're going to play them twice round, so like this. When she starts singing "You Look So Cool Getting High" and all that section, we're going to take our D major 7 chord once again, and we're just going to strum our 3 fretted notes and leave everything else muted. So we're going to go strum, strum, palm mute, palm mute, palm mute. like that. So we're palm muting again with the base of our right hand, and we're just striking the 2 bottom notes in that chord. So that's. Then we go to our F sharp minor 7 chord and leave our B string ringing out, and we're going to strum this just 4 times. Sort of each time hitting more of the notes, sort of getting bigger and bigger. Then our A sus2 with the B string ringing out, same as what we did for the D major 7 chord. So that's. Then our E major, 4 strums. Then back to our D major 7. Then we have a B9 sus4 chord, I believe would be the right name for it. So that's our second finger on the 2nd fret of the A string on a B note, and that finger is also muting the low E and the D string above it. Our 3rd finger is on the 2nd fret of the G string on an A note. That's our 7. And our pinky is on the 2nd fret of the B string on a C sharp, which is our 9. And we're going to leave the E string, the top E string open, which is our 4 or our 11. And there's no minor 3rd in this, hence the suspended 4th. So that's strum, 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 strum. Then back to our F sharp minor 7. We're just going to let the B and the E string ring out this time. We're just going to start strumming this with much less muting. We're just going to go just like that into our E major. And the pattern we're going to do is really similar to strumming pattern 1 that we learnt earlier in the video, at least the start of it. So we're going to go down goes, down goes, down goes, up. But we're going to have 4 click, 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 clicks on the end. So down goes, down goes, down goes, up, click, 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 click. So putting that together with some singing, that's you look so cool, getting high, high, no handlebars, you wanna fly high, you look so cool, I wanna die high, is it too soon to say what's on my mind? So now we just go once more through the chorus and once more through a lot of oh. But to end, when we go oh, we just do 1 strum of our E major chord. Then I want your things in my. So that's just our D major 7, but with an open B and an open high E, and we just arpeggiate that, and that's the song.